Hello, folks. Welcome to the Manly Pinterest Tip Show. I'm Jeff C., and you're not. I am so glad that you guys are here with me today. We've got an awesome show for you. My friend and colleague Vincent Ng is on the show again with us today. Vincent was actually one of my first guests on the show, and he's always a wealth of information on Pinterest. And so if you don't know who Vincent is, he is the founder of MCNG Marketing and a Pinterest marketer. He's a speaker, and he also enjoys reading Batman comics, so you know he's a good guy. So he's also the author of Pinterest to Profits with Pentalysis and host of the Pictures to Profits podcast. He is a top 20 resource for becoming a Pinterest expert, according to Heyo, and has written for amazing blogs such as Social Media Examiner, Top Dog Social Media, and Tailwind. And Vincent is actually going to be speaking at Social Media Marketing World 15 in March, and I really can't wait I get to go, and so I can't wait to see him make that presentation. So he also has an excellent online course called Pentalysis Academy, an online on-demand Pinterest marketing course, which is excellent because I have gone in there and looked around, and it is really, really cool. So appreciate everyone stopping by who is here live with us today. If you guys have any questions, make sure you ask them in the comments right there, and we will try to get to them during the show. Vincent, thanks so much for being here today with us.
You're welcome, Jeff. I'm truly honored, and I kind of want to give a heads up. I am recovering from a flu, so if I sound different from the last interview or something's going, I promise you I'm not drunk. I'm just recovering from a flu. It's just that type of show. But thank you, Jeff. Truly an honor to be on the show again.
Well, thanks. Thanks again. I mean, you and I become friends over Pinterest, and you are one of my go-to guys for questions I have. So, for people who didn't see the show for the first time, kind of tell us how you became such a Pinterest expert, kind of your story.
Yeah, so I'll give you a quick summary. So the first things first is that I actually got laid off as a Starbucks manager years ago. This is about 6 years ago. Decided that, hey, you know what? It's a good time to pursue my dream. And social media marketing was hot, and it was something that I loved. And so decided, hey, let's go into this. But kind of like a lot of social media marketers out there, they'll feel this type of pain, which is, okay, I'm trying to use Facebook, I'm trying to use Twitter, it doesn't work for me. And then here comes this social network, this beautiful visual social network, and it has 10 million unique visitors per month, fastest one to do it. And I'm like, there's something to this. There's got to be something more to this than cupcakes and wedding dresses and all that jazz. And I said, okay, let's go on there, and notice that traffic was coming to my site. And that's when I realized like I had to be on this network, not just being on it, but educating people about it. And that's how I became a Pinterest educator.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, I want to jump right into some of the questions that I know that people have. Everyone is talking about this Pinterest smart feed. There's articles coming out almost every day about it, and how to get seen on the smart feed. Kind of give us a little brief overview of the smart feed and why so many people are talking about it.
I think that a lot of people are talking about it because it's such a huge adjustment. In the past, in the past, the feed was based on a chronological order. So
Right.
just kind of imagine Twitter, you post, that's when people see. Now there's been this huge shift about relevancy. Are these pins relevant to the user? And so it's operating more like the Facebook news feed, which is, hey, you know what? Your stuff, when you pin it, is not going to necessarily show up at the same time, but it's going to show up if people are interested in it. And so, for example, if you are in the business of flowers, um, and your users love flowers, then guess what? They're going to see your content more often than, again, if they're Batman fans. If they're Batman fans, they're going to see more Batman content. And how Pinterest determines all this with their smart feed is, what are you clicking on? What sites are you visiting? So they're using all this data to determine what's relevant to you. So it can either work in your favor or it can be disastrous.
Gotcha. Now, when it first kind of rolled out, at least to me, I did not like it at all. I mean, because I think they were adjusting the algorithm, and I wasn't seeing people like you. I mean, that I wanted to see content from. It didn't seem like it was showing up, or I had to scroll forever to get to it. It seems to me that that's kind of calmed down. Is it because they're continually to adjust the algorithm and kind of smoothing things out? Is that what you suspect?
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm suspecting is I think that things are smoothing out a little bit. They're as they get more and more data, they're going to be able to predict more and more what you like. And so I totally agree with you, Jeff, because when I first used the Pinterest Smart Feed, all I would ever see on my feed were infographics, and it would drive me absolutely nuts because again, it'd just be like 5 pages of infographics. So I think that the more you use it, the more you're going to get better content that's relevant to you.
Okay, good. Now, I think it was Hology had mentioned this was one of the ways that, and we'll talk about maybe a little bit later when we're talking about some scheduling stuff, um, is that the more you're on the platform also kind of determines the smart feed and your kind of relevancy too. Is that accurate?
Based on my observations, I would say that's pretty accurate. So I've kind of tested this out for my own account versus my client's account. And what I've noticed is that when I'm on a client's account and I'm there every day pitting like 10 to 15 pins, the results tend to be a lot quicker. And I'm not saying that that's typical of everybody, but
Right.
again, if you are making sure that you have pictures that are relevant, beautiful, the audience eats it up, they click on it, then guess what? You're going to show up on the smart feed more often. For example, in my case, I've been a little bit busy, and sometimes I don't take my own advice about pinning every day. But I have, but what I do notice is that hey, it's not showing up on people's smart feed as often. So again, it is about relevancy and pinning consistently stuff that your audience likes helps a lot.
Okay, on that topic as well, so what's the best advice, like let's say a small business came to you for maybe some consulting on optimizing the smart feed. Say like a local flower shop came in and said, hey, we hear about the smart feed thing, we're scared, is it worth doing? So what would you tell them?
With the smart feed thing, I think that the one thing you want to be able to do is to optimize for clicks. So this is just a theory of mine, right? I think that Pinterest smart feed determines relevancy partially by what pins you click on. And
Hmm.
so if they know that, hey, you know what, you're not pinning on those Batman pins that you say that you like, well, maybe you're just lying to us, right? That you're interested in Batman. Maybe you are interested in flowers. And so when we talk about those beautiful pictures, this is the time. Create those wonderful images, create those amazing pin descriptions, get people to click on it. And what happens is that as more and more users click on your content, I believe Pinterest determines that, hey, you know what, this person is producing good content. It's obviously relevant to people. Let's boost that up and keep doing that. So I've kind of noticed that for a client of mine is that again, they had not pinned for honestly for I would say for 6 months. They weren't really starting off, but they had about 1,000 followers or so, and we just started pinning content that was relevant, beautiful pictures, and it just spread. People were clicking on it. It started showing up on the smart feed for people more often. And not only that, the side effect is that when people start repinning your content, it ranks higher in Pinterest search results. So there's all these little trickle down effects that happen when you create beautiful images that are clickable.
And I think that's probably the key. One of the things that attracted me so much, and I think attracts a lot of people to Pinterest, is how easy it is to use. And my thing is, yes, it's very easy to use, but it is very hard to create good pins. I mean, because images are so important, and there really is a skill and an art to making Pinterest images that will get clicked on and repinned and stuff like that. And so that's why, yes, Pinterest is easy to use, but yeah, it can get, and I still struggle with some of that stuff. Something I'll spend hours creating for a client, a pin that I think's beautiful and it'll look great, won't work. And I have to try something else. And so it's really kind of an art and a gamble sometimes on creating those pins.
It is for sure, yeah.
Yeah. Here's the other question I want to talk to you about. Today, an article from, and I'm going to mangle this name, Tram Nigel. I don't know if that's right or not, but they lead the partner product marketing, and had an article that stated 2/3 of all content on Pinterest is added from business sites, and then went on to say people who come to Pinterest are in a consumer mindset. They're pretty dissimilar to the customer journey that people make. They're looking to get inspired, try new things, find ideas, and narrow in on a few options. And they're looking to buy and consume. So, how do businesses who are going on Pinterest key into this like consumer mindset and this customer journey? Because it's not all just about pinning pretty pictures, but there's some more to it than that.
Yeah, I think that when you're using Pinterest, you got to keep in mind that everybody is in kind of a different buying mindset. And so I think when we're talking about Pinterest, where the pretty pictures does come in is that you have to imagine it being like a window shopping experience. How do you get people to stop at your window and take a look? And then from there on, when you kind of build that customer or follower base, is when you can kind of reach people at the different levels. So it's almost kind of imagining like a funnel. So you get people to be interested in your pins, you get them to follow or repin your stuff, and then from there you can kind of take it to the next level. Okay, what kind of promotional offers can we let people know on Pinterest? Can we get them to sign up for an email regarding either an offer or some kind of contest that we're holding? And then from there, if you have a really large follower base, similar to Nordstrom's or Whole Foods or Lululemon, then maybe you just want to do a very specific promotional offer just for your Pinterest followers. And another thing that you can do is, again, partner up with a Pinterest influencer. If there's someone out there that is part of your customer base, partner with them. I think that's a really smart strategy, and so you can kind of reach the different levels of kind of that buying cycle.
That's a good point. Good point. Um, and and you had wrote an article about that earlier about finding a Pinterest buddy. I can't remember if that was the title or not, but when you're marketing, and that's true because you and I do this kind of the same thing on a different level. Is I know I can trust pins by Pinterest. I mean by Vincent because I know he checks his links. I know he pins good stuff, and so there's a thing of trust that's built up too. And so I think that's really important for people also who are coming on Pinterest to you know, don't just throw stuff up to try to get likes or repins or whatever. Really look at that content because nothing makes me unfollow somebody quicker than a broken link or something leading to spam. I figure that's the case for you as well.
Yeah, and I make it a habit of making sure to click through to people's pins, just because of the fact that there are so many loose links out there. And again, if you're using the desktop version of Pinterest, if you hover over the pins, it will actually tell you where it redirects to. So it gives you a better idea as well. But definitely, again, don't just repin automatically. And I'm going to say this is going to be a little bit contradictory, but even if it is my pins, you should double check because you never know.
Right.
Again, if someone actually, another user that repinned it might have changed the URL. So don't trust. It's kind of like the X Files. Don't trust anyone
Right.
or whatever that used to be.
That's right. Trust
Yeah,
no one.
trust no one. Trust no one.
Yeah.
Trust no one, but trust everyone. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Good
that's
point.
that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't tell you I was going to ask this question when I do it right now, but I wrote recently an article for Peg Fitzpatrick on her blog about mobile and Pinterest. So what do you think? We were talking about pins and creating great images, and there's also a kind of a style and a mindset you have to get into thinking for mobile as well. I see a lot of beautiful Pinterest pins with scripty fonts that I know you're not going to be able to read on mobile, and so what kind of advice do you have people to think about when they're pinning? Because 75% of traffic, I think, it comes from mobile devices, either a phone or a tablet on Pinterest. So, what advice would you give that way?
Jeff, I'm going to rearrange it. And I think you should, because you're the expert on that. You wrote the article, so I'm going to ask you, Jeff, is what tips do you think people can use? Because you're saying, the scribbly font, but what tips do you think people can use? Because honestly, I think you're an expert in this field.
Well, I don't know. I'm expert, but my thing was, check your, check your, check it out in the device for one thing. And the links, check your links. We talked about that, but also the infographics are really bad on mobile. I mean, sometimes you can't even see them on desktops. They're
Yeah.
so small fonts, and I'm like, I don't know the worth in those, and they get repinned all the time. But that and outdated, I can't stand outdated infographics from like 2000 that people are pinning. I'm like, stop! Those numbers don't even valid anymore. So, but my thing is just mostly checking your phone, and it's really interesting. I have an iPhone 6 Plus, and it looks different than my kid's iPhone 4, and so you kind of almost have to check different devices. There are a couple of sites that I'm testing right now, and I'll try to put them in the link where you can actually kind of do an emulation on different devices where you can pull up pins and look at them that way. I've been testing. They kind of work halfway, but I think when those get developed out further, they'll be really helpful.
And I agree. Yeah, I think that the best piece of advice you give is make sure that you test out on all different platforms, and that can be hard because let's be honest, not all of us are rich enough to buy like every single device that's out there, which it would be nice,
Yeah.
and it's funny because we talked about the Pinterest Smart Feed, and that's something you're going to see a lot in the Smart Feed as well. Is you're going to see old infographics pop up, and that's a pet peeve of mine. But you see that a lot.
Yeah, and that's why you have to check before you prepin stuff. So, um, some of the other big news that I wanted to talk about, as we're talking about kind of the state of Pinterest in 2015, is promoted pins are rolling out to all U.S. users, right? They're not. It's not international. Is it just
Yeah,
U.S.? Okay.
Yeah, so it's still US based, and so I'm going to go into a little bit about because I think the Pinterest promoted pins and the advertising has caused a little bit of confusion about what's exactly going on. Number one, there's actually two sets of promoted pins. The first one is known as reservation style promoted pins, which are for Pinterest partners only. So those are like Kraft, Whole Foods, big companies that were pre-established as partners with Pinterest. That is not available to small guys like you and me. But hopefully one day we'll make billions of dollars and have a 2 million to spend on 2 million to spend on advertising. We don't
Right.
right now.
Right.
But the other thing is also known as auction-based pins or self-served pins. And I know, Jeff, you have access to that, which is great. And so that one is for businesses where you can kind of pay per click. The other one you pay by CPM, which is cost per 1,000 views.
Right.
So make sure you know the difference because I know there's confusion saying it's open to all US based advertisers. Like no, it's not for everybody. It's just if you're a partner, then you would. But go with the self auction pins, apply for it. Those are very important.
Yeah. And the do you think this is going to be a big game changer for Pinterest, or are we going to start seeing our stream flooded with big promoted pins from like Kraft and Walmart and stuff like that, uh, or how do you think that's going to work, kind of coming up in the future?
I I think that the way I think it is, I don't think they're going to flood it because I think Pinterest has always been extremely conscious of what they do with their advertisements and the user experience and the user interface and all that jazz as well. So I think that they're going to be testing it slowly just to see the reaction. Are people clicking through? Are the advertisers happy with what's going on? And if they find that there's a point where it's too much, I think, then they're going to withdraw. And I think that's where Pinterest is smart. They're not trying to push it to make more money. They're trying to make sure that it's a win-win. So I think, are we going to be bombarded for advertisements? No. Are we going to see them in unexpected places? Yes, that I do. So one of the things you're probably going to notice, Jeff, I know you kind of have a bacon group board
Right.
with Peg Fitzpatrick.
Right.
Again, what you might see is that when someone clicks on that bacon board, and so all of a sudden it's like, hey, check out the this bacon advertisement. So that you might see inside people's boards. But again, bombardment. I hope Pinterest doesn't go that way. It'd be really frustrating, but I don't see it happening.
Gotcha. Now, a lot of people, when I first tested it, I thought it's awful expensive for what I was getting. But from the experiments I've done and talking to other people, it seems like it's uh, really gone down. The price is really good for small businesses because, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're only paying for the initial pin for the promoted pins. The repins that you get off of that don't count against your cost per click or whatever. Am I correct in that what I just said?
Yeah, no, you're right on the
Okay.
ball. So one of the great things is that when you advertise or you use promoted pins, again, the cost per click is low. And the reason why, if you're wondering, is really because the competition is really low right now. So some of the things that I always tell people is to really think about what's going to happen 5 years from now, similar to Twitter or Facebook. Think about all the people that got into Facebook advertising very early on. They took advantage of it, built up these huge lists, or were able to drive traffic back to their site. So if you are not using it right now, there's a chance that, again, 3, 4 years later, when you go, yeah, this Pinterest advertising is a smart idea. This is great. Whoa, why is it cost per click $1 now? Versus like the 5 cents or the 10 cents or
Right.
whatever it is. So get on early because you might as well make the hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars now
That's right.
instead of giving it to Pinterest, right? So.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, hey, I want to take a break real quick and pull up something from our audience. Andrea has a great quote for you. She goes, Vincent is the one that caught it when I accidentally used a link shortener. He rocks. Don't forget Pinterest no likey shorteners, which is very, very true. They do not, and I did the same mistake when I first started, so don't feel bad, Andrea. So, um,
I just want to add a quick comment there, if that's okay, Jeff.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, okay, so this is really tricky. It's not that link shorteners don't work on Pinterest. It's just that they have to be, I believe, they have to be authorized by Pinterest first. So you'll see shorteners from BuzzFeed, from other websites that are partners with Pinterest that have the shorteners. That's okay. But
Mm.
things like Bitly and Goog.gl, they won't work because they're not authorized. So if you're wondering, like, hey, I see them once in a while, why do they work? It's because they probably have pre-authorization.
Gotcha, and that's a good point. And I believe the reason they're doing that is they don't want to have a. I guess at the beginning there's a lot of affiliate spam that was going on, and so I assume that cuts down on it, not having those links. So the other announcement I wanted to make is this is big. I finally have launched the Manly Pinterest Tips podcast, which are the show as a podcast form, and so I'm very excited. I'll be totally honest with you. I'm trying to get on the new and noteworthy, and one of the ways to do that is I'm having a contest. So I'm giving away a Amazon Kindle Fire HD and a $50 Amazon gift certificate, and I will give you the link to that towards the end of the show. But I would love it for you to guys to go over there and sign up for the drawing. The drawing is going to be in 15 days. There's a ton of ways to win, and like I said, I'll give you the link to the end of the show. So that's my little commercial, kind of halfway in the middle. And so anyway, love it for you guys to go leave me a review on iTunes because it would sure help me out a ton. So back to Vincent Ing. Um, how would you? What would you say? Okay, a small business, limited budget. You kind of mentioned to get on it now. What would be their best way to use this promoted pins if they were able to get on it? Let's say
Yeah,
it's a flower shop.
yeah. Let's say it's a flower shop with promoted pins. Here's what I suggest as best practice: is number one, make sure that pin a lot of your stuff already that you have, so that you already know what type of pins are getting traction and are attractive to your audience, and use those pins because they're already working. So why reinvent the wheel? The second thing that you do when you're using promoted pins is, because you're budget conscious, check out the varying budgets for cost per click. So maybe, to be honest, you don't need to spend like 50 cents for a cost per click. Try 5 cents. Again, if nothing shows, you're not getting results, move it up slowly. Try 6 cents, 7 cents, 8 cents, and see kind of where the best bang for your buck is. Because I think if you're going to spend 25 cents when in reality, you can get it for 20, then why do that, right? The good thing is that Pinterest will give you kind of an average cost per click. They will tell you based on which promoted pin the cost per click for that one as well. So make sure that you examine all your promoted pins, see which one's performing, nix the ones that aren't doing that great, and keep the ones that are.
Gotcha. That's very very good point. And what I would add to that is use if you haven't known yet, there's the new Pinterest Analytics for business accounts. It is awesome. It's a really good tool. Just like Vincent was saying, finding out what works, you can really use that Pinterest Analytics to drill down and see what really is working for maybe doing some promoted pins later on. So good points there, Vincent. Um, here's one question, and I'm just really upset that I haven't got it yet, but you have. You got the new desktop layout. I saw you post about that for Pinterest, and I still haven't seen those changes for me and my clients. So what is it? What does it look like? What's different about it? And how come Canadians get it first? That's what I want to know.
Okay, so this is okay. So if you know me and Jeff, it's almost like a running gag because I am a Canadian and he's an American, and somehow he thinks because I'm a Canadian I get this stuff first, which is totally not true. So okay, let's get to the heart of it. First things first is so Pinterest has. I'm not saying this has happened, but it seems like it's in the works, which is the desktop version of Pinterest is that when you used to click on a pin, you used to kind of see exclusively, here's the pin above the fold. You
Right.
would never see anything. But what you're going to see potentially is that, okay, I've got Manly Pinterest tips pin right here. And then over here on this side, depending on the size of your screen, you might see one column of pins, you might see two columns, and I've actually started seeing up to a third column. So all of a sudden, your pin, which used to be the center of attention, is no longer the center of attention. You have pins on the right-hand side. And so what's really cool is they have the follow button here, right up top that says follow, follow Manly Pinterest tips.
Right.
It's a click away. That's a good part. And the reason why this may be happening no one knows for sure, is that you can imagine that would be an awesome place to put a promoted pin right next to it. So it's like, here's your pin. We know what this is about, but we're going to put a promoted pin about bacon right here because we want to take you away and make our advertisers happy. So there is a potential. Am I the first to see? Because I'm Canadian, I totally disagree with Jeff about that. It was an American client's account, and I'm going to
Okay.
stick with that. Yeah, I'm going to stick with that.
All right, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that makes total sense with the promoted pin. Do you like the new layout? I mean, or do you think it's gonna? Would you rather have it where you see the pin you clicked on front and center?
Oh, and I think that that depends on the perspective of where you're coming from. I think as obviously as an advertiser, you love the fact that you can take people away from other people's pins, and especially if
Right.
it's very relevant content. Uh, and I think that, but from kind of like a blogger and small business perspective, obviously, when you have one pin that you can concentrate on, it gets people back to your website. So, as a blogger slash pinner myself, I don't like that competition, but as a
Right.
marketer, I love that idea. So I'm pretty much on both sides of the coin.
Gotcha. Well, it'd be interesting to on two things. One, how it'll end up because usually it'll trickle down somehow to mobile. How's that gonna, when you're looking at a tablet, what's going to change on that? And the other thing is, I wonder how the end users, not marketers, not bloggers or business owners, like just people who are looking for wedding dresses and recipes, how they're going to like the new desktop version. Which that's really we like to think we're the the end user for Pinterest, but we're really not. It's mostly the people who are going to search for their new wedding dress or a new recipe or a new travel destination. That's the end user, not marketers. We're just kind of carving our own little niche out. So it'll be interesting in that way. Let's see. The next question I wanted to pick your brain about is contests. We've kind of talked about this a little bit, and there's a lot of confusion on the topics. I mean, I went and you pour over Pinterest, in their business section what you're supposed to do, and for one example, you can't say pin it to win it anymore. That's against their terms of service. Do you have any best practices for running contests, or do you have any good brands that we can look at that are running contests that you know of that we can kind of see and steal ideas from?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Jeff. I don't know that many brands that are holding Pinterest contests, and I say that we're really good because it's interesting because I think when I first started using Pinterest, I was highly aware of who is running Pinterest contests because again, you're allowed to pin the rules. They weren't restrictions about how many pins you can pin from a selection. They've really tightened it to the point where I feel like it's almost they don't want any contests on there, is almost my feeling. So is there kind of a best practice? I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably not the guy to talk to about this right now because it
Gotcha.
is a very technical thing, but definitely read the restrictions. There are other platforms like Curate is a great platform. They hold contests that help generate leads. So there are definitely platforms to take a look into. But I hate to say it, I don't want to I can't comment on something that
Yeah.
I've never done myself before. So
Gotcha. Well, I'm running my first one now, so that's why. Well, I know Kim Vidge and Cynthia Sanchez did a podcast episode on this a couple months back, and so that might be if anybody's interested in that, maybe going to listen to. And I really am going to try to get Kim back on the show and maybe some other people to talk about contests because I think that everybody in social media wants to give away stuff and do a contest, so I think it's relevant to talk about. So we'll try to get some experts on contests. The reason I brought it up too is I know mommy bloggers do it a lot. There's a lot of the bloggers who run the big ones. I mean, gave me the idea was Holly Homer was doing one for her Pinterest and kind of a Pinterest party they were doing. So anyway, maybe we can get some other people on. But I know that there are some contests out there and they're doing it, and we'll try to figure out some good ways to teach you guys about that. On our time that we have left, Pinterest on Pinterest, Vincent. I don't know why I want to call you Pinterest. You're Mr. Pinterest. Um, do you have any predictions on anything that Pinterest will be rolling out in the future?
I'm pretty terrible at that. I tried to do that for 2014, and I think only two of them came true.
Oh, that's better. That's not bad.
Yeah. No, I think that the big thing definitely is, like we discussed before, is the promoted pins are going to be a really big aspect of things. I think that's definitely we're going to see more of that. Rand Fiskin from Moz is predicting that there's going to be about $50 million being spent, and so we're definitely going to see a lot of that. And what I am predicting for sure is definitely, again, if you have some really great visual content, your industry is hot on Pinterest, you should definitely go on there now because Pinterest is definitely favoring you. So they're not, because they're not showing chronological stuff anymore. Things, for example, like, I hate to say it, but articles like mine are only going to go to a small population that are really into social media marketing.
Hmm.
But again, if your audience is mostly weddings and all that jazz, like, guess what? Your stuff is going to be on the feed a lot. So definitely take advantage of that for 2015.
Gotcha. I just want to pull up one comment from Elisa. She goes, "I agree, Vincent. Contests seem to have fizzled out on Pinterest. They don't thrill me too much, but I'd love to know how much Jeff C's does." So she agrees with you, and we know Elisa's always correct in all of her assumptions. So I don't want to mess. She can get on you if you're wrong.
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
mess with her. She's I call her Wonder Woman, even though she doesn't like to admit it. But yeah, don't mess with Wonder Woman.
that's good. I'll have to start calling her that. That's pretty cool. Um, the last couple thing I want to ask you is what tools do you recommend? I know everyone's talking about tools, and scheduling is huge. Everybody wants scheduling. The only question I have about that is, we talked about it before, the amount of Pinterest is tracking kind of how long you're on their platform, and scheduling, to me, it makes me a little nervous, but I know that's hot right now for all these tools that are coming out with scheduling options. Do you have some ones that you really like, any third-party tools that you use every day and recommend and love?
Yeah, they're definitely Tailwind is an amazing scheduling tool. I've tested a lot, and they do a really great job. And unlike, I think, a lot of people, they didn't rush it. They really tested their scheduling tool, made sure that it worked well, great functionality. So Tailwind is good for detailed analytics, great for scheduling. Another one that I think is highly underrated is actually Pin Forever. So it's PIN number four EVER. And this is because people actually ask me a lot, like, how do I rearrange the actual pins within my board? Is a very common one. They want to make sure that, hey, can I rearrange a pin and move it into position 1, 2, 3, and 4? And Pinterest actually doesn't allow you to do that, but Pin Forever, which is available, and you can only use in Mozilla Firefox, actually allows you to move pins. So when I did my 31 Days to a Better Pinterest page, I was actually able to do it in a chronological order instead of trying to pin it, and it just becomes a nightmare when you try to organize it by pinning it in a certain order. So those are probably my two favorite tools I recommend. How about you? How about yourself, Jeff? I know you've been using Pinterest for a while. Any ones that you love?
Yeah, Tailwind is mine, but I was going to go real quick on Pin Forever. Now, does that allow you to back up your boards as well?
It does, actually, yeah. So
Okay.
if for any reason, like, you're a government agency that's required to back up your boards, it allows you to do that. It's really reasonable price and a great tool.
Gotcha. Well, mine are Tailwind. I use, and I love the scheduling too. I've tested that out as well when they offered that. He was on our show and actually gave some people some breaks to get in and test that scheduling. I use that. I also have been playing with Ahology. I mean, they're really, some of their research they're doing is just awesome. Their blog posts are really good.
Mhm.
But the tool that I'm most excited about, that I've been playing with a lot, is I've put on my blog, and it's Dustin Stout's and Jason Weiser's and Nicholas Cardo's. It's called Social Warfare Plugin. It allows you to specifically have when somebody clicks on the pin button in your social share, it actually has a pin that you can set up, and you have one for Facebook. I mean, you can tell what image to go where for what thing. I mean, it's just really powerful, and I love it. I've been testing it out for a while, and and their support's awesome. It was breaking. It was only on my iPhone 6 Plus. It was breaking a line on the thing, and in 20 minutes they fixed it and made an update. And so love their stuff and couldn't be more happier with them. So check those out. I'll put their link in the description later too. So. The other thing I wanted to bring up real quick, and thanks so much, Kim. She put up the episodes of the Oh So Pinteresting where they talked about the contest and also the party that I talked about with Holly Homer. So thanks, Kim, for pulling that up. So, real quick, I want you to talk about your Pictures to Profits podcast. I really enjoy it. Tell people what it's about, and it's on iTunes, I know, but tell us what you kind of talk about on your podcast.
Yeah, so the Pictures to Profits podcast mainly focuses on Pinterest. So the majority of the episodes, again, they talk about things like the Pinterest search, again, how to create visuals. So Jeff has been a guest on the show, which I'm really honored. Same with Elisa Meredith. And again, but you'll get some episodes that are about just visuals. So how to use visuals in marketing, because that's kind of the big thing for here in the next few years. And that's what the Pictures to Profits podcast is all about.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, it's great. I am a subscriber, and I love listening to it. So, um, Manly Pinterest Tip Show. Do you have any advice? Any more advice? I mean, you've given us advice the entire time, but any more advice for guys who are getting started on Pinterest? What's some best practices maybe to do?
Yeah, when you're starting off as a guy, definitely, you know what? Pin the stuff that you really enjoy. Because if you're trying to use Pinterest for stuff that you don't enjoy, it's really, in my opinion, you're just wasting your time. But if you love Batman, look for Batman stuff. If you love, muscle cars, look for muscle cars because the best thing about it all is it's all there, and that's the best thing about Pinterest.
Very cool. I would totally agree. So, where could we find out about your stuff? Where do you want us to go to find out more about you and your services?
Yeah, so if you just visit my website at www.mcngmarketing.com. That's where you can find my blog, you can find my podcast, and also about my course, the Pentalysis Online Academy. So you find it all there. Again, if you do have any questions, I'm open to email at vince@mcngmarketing.com. And if I don't have the answer, I know this guy here, Jeff, does. And if he doesn't, then you know what? It's an unanswerable question. That's my answer, and I'm sticking to it.
We'll find somebody who can answer your question for you. Anyway, as promised, I was going to give you guys the link for the entering for the Kindle Amazon Fire HD and the $50 Amazon gift card. If you go to www.manlypinteresttips.com/podcast, the contest is right there for you to enter. That's www.manlypinteresttips.com/podcast. That's where you can enter. You can listen to some of the podcasts that we've released. There's tons of ways to enter. You can follow me. You can do all these different things. You can actually do an Instagram post. But the one that you'll get the most entries for is leaving me a review on iTunes. So, as like I said before, I really appreciate if you guys would go and do that. It would really help me out. And Vincent, thank you so much for being here on the show. It's awesome. I mean, we could talk probably every episode together and have a good time. So, thanks everyone for watching. Because at Manly Pinterest Tips, we're offering testosterone one pin at a time. See you next time, everybody. Thanks for watching.